Hello, all my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to Friday Fun with Sara. And I'm excited about today's video. Of course, I get excited anytime I get to teach a new crochet pattern. But today I'm going to teach you how to make a pencil. Aren't these cute? It's just a fun little pencil. Let's see, it measures about 10 inches. And then you can add this tail on it to use it as a bookmark, or you can just add a magnet, make it into a magnet, or you can add a clip and hang it on to a bag or book bag. It makes a nice gift for your brand new teacher this year. And it's also fun to hang on kids' bags and things. And you could also take some black yarn, maybe embroidery something like their initial or something, just so they know it's their backpack. Because when you go to the store and buy backpacks or book bags, a lot of them are similar. So it makes it easy if your child can, identify theirs very quickly. So this has lots of fun uses: bookmark, magnet, hanger, or just decoration. Wouldn't it be cute to make a bunting for a teacher and have a bunch of pencils and crayons? Because you could use this same pattern and make it look like a crayon. Isn't that fun? All right, let me tell you what you need so you can make some. So to make our 10-inch pencil, you're going to need, of course, some yarn. Now, I just got in my yarn stash and pulled out some different acrylic yarns that would work. This one's in a lighter yellow, but I'm going to use this more gold color for my pencil today. I've got a little bit of gray, a little bit of pink for the eraser, a little bit of beige for the wood, and then a little bit of black for the pencil lead. And again, you don't have to make it in yellow. That's just the standard number 2 pencil color, and so that's why I'm going with that. It's a very simple pattern, mostly single crochets and double crochets, and then we do these front and back posts here for the lines of the pencil. Now, if you're going to make this into a crayon, you can use this same shape. You're just going to have to change colors in a little bit different fashion. And of course, you don't have to make your pencil yellow. I'm just doing that, like I said, because it's the number 2 pencil. Okay, so some other things that you can use some hangers and attach them. I like these because you can put that on and slide it around and it'll hook on real nice, or you can just put a couple of stitches in here and you've got a way to hang it up. All right, and these are just some basic keychain rings. Here's a plastic one. I like those sometimes also. And you can get these little hooks also. Okay, in this bag, it's called Assorted Colorful Findings, and they also have these just in silver. I bought this at Walmart. Okay, it had a whole bunch, 80 pieces of different sized rings and hooks. These silver ones, all these different colored ones, not the plastic. Those, of course, are separate. But you get all different shapes. And I think it was like $2.99 or something. Not very expensive. Okay, you can, like I said, you can use a plastic one, or you can just add the chain on here with crochet, and you could loop that around and hook it on there with that. So there's lots of different options for making it a hanger or a bookmark. And then I picked up these. These are little magnetic buttons. Let me get that so you can see that better. I picked these up at the Dollar Tree. They were $1.25, and you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2. There's 2 on each one of those. So there's 12 little magnets, and these are super strong, and all you have to do is hot glue one on the back and give it to your teacher, and she can put it on her. Well, I don't even know if they still use metal file cabinets, but I'm sure she has something she can put it on. If not, it can go on a refrigerator or something like that. It's just another option that you can use. I think that a teacher would really appreciate getting a pencil bookmark or hanger or magnet with a note that says, "Have a great year," and signed by your mom or your dad or your aunt or something. I think that would be super fun. All right, so there's lots of different ways you can use our pencil today. Now we're going to use an H hook today to stitch it up, 5.0 millimeter. You need a needle for weaving in ends because we are going to be changing colors, and so we are going to have a few ends we're going to have to weave in. And then, of course, you'll need your scissors. We're going to begin at the top of our pencil at the eraser and then work our way down, and then we'll do some decrease stitches in order to form the lead of our pencil. All right, so we're going to begin with our pink, and you don't have to use this shade of pink. You can use any shade of pink you've got. let's begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 8 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 chains. Now we're going to place a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then we'll stitch 1 single crochet in those remaining stitches. So we began in the second chain from the hook, so you have 7 single crochets. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and now we're going to stitch in that first single crochet because our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and so we'll place 1 single crochet in each of those 7. Chain 1 and turn, and now we're going to do this 2 more times, so we have a total of 4 rows of our pink yarn for our eraser. Chain 1, turn, 1 single crochet in the 7 stitches. Chain 1, turn, and 1 single crochet in those 7 stitches. Now, after our 4th row, we're not going to chain 1 because we're going to be changing to our gray that represents that metal that holds that eraser onto our pencil. And so we have 1 single crochet in 7 stitches because we began in the second chain from the hook, and we stitched that for 4 rows. So now I'm going to cut my pink yarn, and we're going to bring in the gray, snug that down, and chain 1. We're going to turn our work, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch over these tails of yarn for the first 2 or 3 stitches. So we'll stitch 1 single crochet in the first 2 or 3, and I do this just to get them away from the side. Okay, and so now I'll just let them drop, and I'll come back in and weave those in with my needle. All right, so we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 single crochets, chain 1 and turn, and then we'll stitch 1 single crochet in those 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, I'm not going to chain 1 because I am going to change to yellow next. All right, now I want to pull these stitches to the back of my work, these yarn tails. That way, when we're finished, all of our yarn tails will be on the same side of our work, and we'll be able to weave them in. And I did want to talk a little bit about why I went ahead and stitched over those. What I do is when it's on the end of a row, it's a lot easier for me, and I think it looks a lot neater if we just stitch over them for 2 or 3 stitches, and then we can weave them in over here, because sometimes if you try to weave them in here, you end up with a little bit of a bump, and we're not going to be putting any single crochet edge on this, and so we want those to be weaved in towards the center of our work. All right, and so now we have 4 rows of our pink and 2 rows of our gray, and now we're going to be switching to the yellow for the body of our pencil. So I'm going to cut my gray yarn, we're finished with that, and we're going to bring in our gold yarn, or yellow, whatever shade of gold or yellow you want to use, or you don't even have to use that. You can use another color because pencils come in all sizes and colors. 1, 2, 3. So we're chaining 3. We're going to turn our work, and again I'm going to stitch over the first couple of stitches so that it makes my tails more to the center of my work and makes it a little easier to weave in. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to stitch a row of double crochets. Our chain 3 counts as our first stitch, so we'll go in our next stitch. We're going to stitch around those tails of yarn for just a couple of stitches. All right, then we'll let those drop so we can weave those in, and then we'll double crochet in those remainder stitches. Now our chain 3 counted as 1 double crochet, and then we'll have 6 double crochets, so that will give us a total of 7 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we're going to chain 3 and turn. So we've pulled all of our yarns that we've cut to the back of our work. All right, so now we're on the front. See how it looks nice and tidy and we don't have those bumps where we added yarn? All right, so what we're going to do in our next row is we're going to add those front post stitches. Our chain 3 counts as our first stitch, and we're going to stitch a front post in the next stitch. All right, so instead of stitching our double crochet up here, we're going to go around the post of the stitch. Then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next. We'll stitch a front post double crochet in the next. I don't want to grab those yarns I have trailing up the back. Double crochet in the next, front post in the next, and then double crochet in that last stitch. And go ahead and chain 3. And see how that looks? I'm going to turn it a little so you can kind of see those ridges. That gives it that appearance of those lines that a pencil has, because a pencil is not always smooth. Your typical number 2 pencil has those sort of jagged edges, you know, that have little rounded corners. All right? All right, so let me move those strings out of the way and give you a better picture of how that looks. But this is how it should look after your first 2 rows of your pencil color. All right, so we've chained 3. We're going to turn our work. And on this side, we're going to be stitching back posts in the front post stitches. And so our chain 3 counts as our first. We're going to yarn over. We're going to go around that post stitch on the back side and stitch a double crochet. Then we'll stitch a double crochet in the double crochet. We'll stitch a back post. So I'm yarning over. I'm going in that stitch of the front post from the previous row. Then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next, and then 1 more back post stitch, and then double crochet in that last stitch, and chain 3. All right, and see what we did by stitching in those back posts is they're stitched in the front post from the previous row, and it makes that a long stitch, looking stitch I should say, not really a long stitch, so that you can see the ridges. Let's do the next row. So now we're back on the front of our work. Our chain 3 counts as our first, so we'll front post around that post, double crochet in the next stitch, front post around that post stitch, double crochet in the next, front post around that post stitch, and then double crochet in that last stitch, which is a chain 3. So I'm trying to get in there. There we go. All right, then we'll go ahead and chain 3. And again, you can see how making sure those post stitch are stitched in the same stitches, or I should say in the same row. When you're on the front of your work, it's a front post. When you turn your work and stitch this way, it's a back post. All right, so we have our chain 3. We're going to turn our work. We're going to back post in those front post stitches, double crochet in the next, back post in those front post stitches, double crochet in the next, one more back post, and double crochet in the next, and chain 3. All right, so when we're on the back of our work, it's a back post. When we're on the front of our work, it's a front post. And see how that's looking like a pencil? So now we're going to do one more row of our front post stitches. So we have our chain 3. We're going to front post around that back post stitch, double crochet in the next, front post in the next, regular double crochet in the next, front post in the next, and then double crochet in that last stitch. And we're not going to chain 3 here because we're going to be changing colors, but I do want to say, if you want to make your pencil longer, you can always continue this until it's the length that you want, because the next thing we're going to do is add that wood color, the brownish beige, so that it looks like the wood of the pencil. So now what we're going to do is cut our gold yarn, or our yellow, whatever color you're using for your pencil, and bring in this beige that we're using as the wood color, and it can be any color, brown or beige, you want. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and again I'm going to hold those over so that I can stitch in the first couple so that I can bring it to the center like we did here for a nice and neat weave in. So we're going to go in our very first double crochet, because our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and stitch a single crochet, and we'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of those stitches across. So I've stitched 3. I'm going to move those tails of yarn out of the way and stitch my last 4 single crochets. And just a reminder, I stitch over those few at the beginning when you're on the edge in order to bring my tails of yarn to the center of my work so I can weave those in neatly. So I have 7 single crochets across. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Now I'm going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 7 stitches. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to begin our decrease stitches. So we're going to single crochet the first 2 together, or a single crochet decrease. So you're going to go in the first stitch and pull up a loop, then you'll go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook instead of those 2. And so you'll yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. Now we'll single crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we'll single crochet together the last 2 single crochets and chain 1. All right, so now we're going to see how that looks on the front. We turned, so instead of having 7 stitches there, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we're going to change colors one last time and bring in our black for our pencil lead. So I've cut my beige yarn. I'm going to bring in my black for my pencil lead. We're going to turn our work and chain 1, or chain 1 and turn your work. All right, we're going to push those to the back, and we're going to single crochet the first 2 together. All right, so we'll go in that first stitch, pull up a loop, go in the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. Now we'll single crochet in the next stitch, and I'm going to drop those yarns so I can weave those in, and then we'll single crochet the last 2 together and chain 1. That leaves us 3 single crochets. We're going to turn our work And now we're going to single crochet these last 3 single crochets together. All right, I'm going to try to do this so that you can see it since it's dark. We're going to go in the first stitch and pull up a loop. We're going to go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. Then we'll go in that third stitch and pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and go through all 4 of those loops and chain 1. All right, we're going to cut our yarn and we'll tie that off. And that's going to give us the point of our lead. All right, so now we have a lot of weaving in to do. So what I'm going to do is turn this over, and we'll start with this black piece of yarn here. There we go. And we're just going to weave this in, and it helps us also in shaping that pencil lead. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and cut that one, and then I want to show you, I'm going to show you on one of these down here where you can see. We stitched over this to get this to the center of our work. Now we're going to thread that on a needle, and we're going to weave this in and stay in that color of the pink, because we don't want to, you know, if I went through this by accident and it came through and showed a stitch of pink in that gray, it wouldn't look very neat and pretty. And the key to getting a good weave in is to go through fibers of the yarn, go one way, then turn and go back the way you came. And if you can, go through some of those same fibers, and that's going to help that stay put. All right, and then we'll clip that, and that's nice and secure. That is not going to come out. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and weave in all my ends and tidy it up, and then I'm going to show you how to make this tail of yarn and also attach a hook. So here's the 2 pencils that I made. This one is in a lighter yellow and this one is in the dark. I want you to see how that darker one looks, and I'm showing the sides so you can see those ridges of those front post stitches. All right, so I added this chain on the end of yarn so that it would be a much longer bookmark. And so the way you add that is you take 2 strands, put them together about 24 inches long, and you're going to go to the very center stitch. You'll have 3, then the 4th one, then 3 on that side, and you'll bring that in like this. And you want to have either 2 or 4 thicknesses of yarn. It's up to you how thick you want to make this chain. This one here I did is just 2 thicknesses, and you can see that by the 2 that I have here. I'm going to go ahead and do 4 thicknesses on this one just to see how it's going to turn out. All right, so then we'll start chaining. And it's up to you how many chains that you want to make. All right, so this one we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 chains. That's our joining one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull that through, snug it down, and trim it. All right, so this one I used 4 strands of yarn and stitched 10 chains. This one has 2 and I stitched 12. So it's up to you how long you want that on there, or if you want it on there at all. If you're making this into a magnet or a hook to hang on a bag or something, you may not want to put that on there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this one off, and I'm going to show you how to add a hook to it for hanging up. If you want to have a hook on there for hanging up, you can make this into a loop and use that as your hook if you want to. If you don't have any of these and you want to add it on to your child or a teacher's backpack, you can certainly do it that way. I'm going to show you how to use a hook though. So here's several different kinds of hooks that you can add to your pencil to hook it on a bag. This is a plastic one. It just moves around. It works just fine. You can stitch yarn across here and hook that on. This one's my favorite. I like using that one. But you can also use these key rings. You can just sew this on. Same thing with this smaller one. Or you can just use this hook and sew that on and hook that onto a backpack. But this one is my favorite for this sort of project. And so I've got some pink yarn on here because that's what color this is. And I'm going to go through this, try to go through a stitch and not a hole. I'm going to do the little loop thing I like to do. Okay, and now I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to do a few stitches through here. And it's really important that you stitch this on securely, especially if it's on a bag that's going to be pulled around school a lot or even in and out of the car and things. So you want to make sure you put a lot of stitches on that. And that's going to stay nice and secure. All right, so I'm going to go to the back. And then we're going to tie some knots so that stays even more secure. 1, 2, and 3 knots. And really, how you put all these different kinds of hooks on are basically the same. You're going to put it on with your yarn. You're going to make a little loop and then loop through whatever hole you had to sew through. Like this one, you would do the same. Same thing with this, or even if you just use this or that one. They're all stitched on the same. And actually, you could do both of these. You could hook this on your bag, and that could just go behind there. And then if you wanted to use it for a bookmark, take it off your book bag, put it on your library bag, take it off, and use this as a bookmark. And so it does have lots of uses and lots of things you can do with this. The last thing that you can do, of course, is grab you some of these magnets. Just use your hot glue. Make sure you use a medium, not a hot glue. And pull those out. Of course, I'm not going to open them right now. You just stick a magnet right up here, hot glue it on, let it dry. You can also use that E6000 if you don't want to use hot glue. That'll hold it nice and secure and give you some options of what you can do with your pencil. Wasn't that a super fun project? I love a project that you can make something and make it into lots of other things as well. So we have a bookmark. We have a tag for a bag or purse. Hook it on your phone bag. Hook it on your library bag. And you can also put a magnet on the back and stick it on the fridge. And if you're a teacher, I don't know if teachers still have file cabinets made of metal. I did back when I was teaching. But you can make it into a magnet. And wouldn't it be a nice gift just to make some of these up? Give one with each of your students or child's teachers and say, thank you for being a teacher, because teachers are not appreciated like they need to be. And you can tell them you hope they have a great year with a fun little note with one of these inside. Wouldn't that be fun? Now, if you want to make it into a crayon, you can use the same shape. You just have to add, probably mostly all one color with some black lines to make it look like a crayon. And maybe we'll do that in the next coming weeks to kind of show you how to do that. But it really is the same shape as a pencil for this project. Of course, in real life, they're not the same shape. Alrighty, so that's what I've got for you this week for Friday Fun Day. And I'll see you next Friday for Friday Fun Day. Bye-bye now.